Oh hey, didn't see you there. Gorgeous day, right? Just wrapping up some work before lunch.
Did you notice a little stutter just now? Or a voice change? That's a technical problem. I'm here to talk about video generation.
Wait, who are these two weirdos? They showed up in the very last frame of that last video segment. Anyway, hi, I'm Chris Schnee, writer of science fiction and fantasy. This is my actual voice, and I'm playing around with the Sora AI video generation tool. You can see here a software program called Shotcut, which I'm using to make the video right now. I use it to string together video segments, which normally come in 10-second clips, so that I can make something longer and more complex. Let's talk about some of the techniques I'm using, and hopefully they will help you to build something longer and more complex on your own. What we're looking at here is the Sora AI interface. You can enter a prompt, but what you may not know is that you can also supply an image to go with the prompt. The main thing I'm doing here to create a longer form video is to create a still image from the end of one segment and then plugging it in to be the start of the next image. That can be useful for getting basic consistency from one segment to the next between characters. That's exactly what I did with the segment from the two raccoon guys at the beginning, and it allows me to build something that can span several minutes. Unfortunately, there are still inconsistencies of anything that is not in the frame. To see what I mean about losing consistency, let's watch two quick segments from a video I did about my story series called Wavebound. There's a character who is knocked into the water, and then she comes back up from the ship. I used a still image of two characters on the ship, and then used that as the starting frame for the second segment. Unfortunately, that meant the main character, the blue wizard woman, is now wearing a different outfit, because that was not preserved from one segment to the next. So ideally, all the major characters you've got in the scene will be present in a segment that you can use again for another segment.
Surrender! Your boss is wanted for burning Averill.
He did what?
And unfortunately, that seems to be a hard limitation of the system right now, and of similar AI video generation systems. I think the number one improvement we could have right now, if we were to continue on this path, would be to have a sort of reference sheet so that the system remembers what each character looks like, so we can have something consistent from each scene to the next. I think for now we just have to live with the fact that it's going to be kind of unprofessional looking. We're going to have inconsistent characters from moment to moment. What you're looking at right now is the interface for a program called Shotcut, which I'm using to make this very video. As you can see, there is one video clip in the upper left at this point, and we're going to show what it looks like at this very moment in the next screenshot. And there is a timeline, which we'll see in a moment, for dragging and dropping items into a timeline to show what will be displayed when. This timeline system allows you to drop in multiple video clips, which will be shown in the upper left, along with still images, also in that same list. You can see some JPEGs in there, and you can also add a voiceover track. I am used to using voiceovers from my previous videos using a program called Audacity. I'm happy with it, but as I learn more about this process, I find that I can actually record directly within Shotcut, so that actually is pretty helpful. I may want to go back and use Audacity anyway because it has some more advanced audio filtering tools. But this is adequate, at least for this relatively sloppy video that I'm making here. I'm not putting this up to the same level of production standards, such as they are, as I use in my other videos. A couple of features that are important to point out for using Shotcut are these three icons that look like a bullseye, a star in a circle, and a shield in a circle. These are variations on how the tracks are moved around. I usually have the target bullseye thing selected, and that allows you to cut and paste and drive things around without messing everything up too much or overlapping clips. Play around with those and learn what they do. I've also gotten a lot of benefit out of right-clicking on a track and selecting Split at Playhead, which splits the track into several pieces. That can be useful for splitting up a piece of audio, as I'm doing right now, or splicing together pieces of a video. When using Sora in particular, you can get a video segment that is full of nonsense and has one little bit of it that you like. So you can paste that into the Shotcut and then split it up using that Split at Playhead segment command, and that will allow you to cut and paste bits and pieces of the video that you like. I'll give an example of a video segment that overall I considered to be junk and not really usable directly, but still had bits and pieces that I was able to scavenge and use by splicing them into another video segment.
You need to think, boy. Steel isn't the only answer.
Gods.
And initially I was laughing at this because, one, I didn't include that initial set of dialogue lines at all, which doesn't make any sense in context, and the main character would never say gods, and it's just generally silly. Still, I was able to pick out a couple of bits and pieces of that using that split at playhead trick, and then copying and pasting them into other places where they would look better, and ditching that initial audio entirely. Oh, and when you find a video segment that you like, but the audio is wrong, you can right-click on it in Shotcut in the timeline and select a command that says Detach Audio. So now you have an audio track that is separate from the video track, and you can manipulate that separately. That's why I advise right-clicking on the audio or video track to do that split at playhead thing, rather than using the icon for it, which looks like a Gemini or square bracket kind of thing. Careful with this, though. As I make this video, I'm fighting with it, creating a bunch of extra audio tracks for no apparent reason, and I'm not sure how to consolidate those easily. I can move segments up and down in that, and then I may delete some blank video tracks, and then accidentally delete proper audio in the process of trying to clean things up. What about that Sora watermark? For example, the one at the bottom of this image here. That can be a hassle for creating transitions between video segments. To deal with that, I'm using a free graphics tool called GIMP, G-I-M-P. It's similar to Photoshop, but freeware, and it has a clone tool that allows you to copy-paste sort of a segment of the image onto another part. I can use that and a brush tool to carefully erase the Sora image each time, and that's a pain to do, but it's not too hard. Now note, I'm not trying to erase the Sora copyright image for the sake of stealing it or falsely attributing it. All I'm trying to do is create a clean transition image so that I can create the overall video more effectively. The watermark will still show up in the video, just not in that particular frame. Note that in some of these examples, I'm trying to put as many of the main characters as possible inside the same transition frame, so that their appearance will be consistent from one frame to the next. Unfortunately, I can't do this with audio, and like I said, there isn't really a reference sheet that's kept consistent. So you're going to get pretty wild changes of voice from one segment to the next, and I don't currently have a solution to that. One trick I can call your attention to is selectively cropping a still shot from your previous transitions, so you can remove things that you want to have differently in a new scene. In this case, I'm alternating between the original wider shot and a smaller image in which I have used the GIMP tools to erase characters from the scene carefully and to remove the whole left side of the screen. Shotcut, Sora does accept a screenshot that is not the standard size and shape exactly, so not only does it not have to be perfect when you clip and crop things, you can also hack off a whole section of the image and get, for instance, a scene of this town without having the main character visible on the left. That was helpful for me in creating a transition to a certain scene at the end. Now let's talk a bit about prompts. I have an example here of a text prompt that I used for something near the end of one of my stories, and it goes into a lot of detail. I have some boilerplate text for the first several paragraphs at the beginning, laying out the name of the character so that I can reference him later, and specific details about his appearance, as many as I can get in, and even something about his voice sometimes, except in this exact wording I didn't mention what his voice sounds like, so that led to a problem to some extent. Here's a corrected version. Here I mentioned a deep, mature voice. In some previous paragraphs I had included that in the description of Lindvik's physical appearance. I think that when I say something like he speaks in a mature, determined voice, that may actually be encouraging Sora to have him say something, anything, even if it has to make up dialogue. That may be part of the reason I'm getting spurious dialogue, lines that I never actually wrote. In some cases, we go with the Bob Ross method and treat the weird dialogue as a happy little accident that fits the scene well. Other times, I have to ditch it. But I think that the exact phrasing of mentioning the voice may be somewhat helpful for consistency. I've had fun with the system so far. I've learned a couple of things, both about the Sora AI system in general, and about other AI systems, and about how to use the tools that I've been using to make videos so far. I assume that the Sora AI system is going to become a paid subscription thing soon. I'm hammering it while I can for free, and you may want to do the same if you can get an invite code. Anyway, it's been a fun experience, and I think it's educational. From a storytelling perspective, it's interesting too, because I've been looking at a short story that I wrote, a couple thousand words long, and figuring out how I can wedge it into this very particular restricted format where everything has to fit within 10 seconds. So I'm finding that I am excerpting things, I am creating shorter, punchier dialogue, I'm thinking about how to handle the visual movement of characters and who to include in what shot and what camera work to have. So I have no real actual video creation experience. I haven't made movies or screenplays before, basically. So I am learning a couple things about a different type of storytelling medium that I'm familiar with. So it's been an exciting journey here, and I hope to learn more about it and play with it some more and see where this technology goes.
I hope you've learned something today. Good luck.